Alright, hello and welcome to another Warframe builds video. So, it has been a little while since I've done a refresh on Rhino, and I've been using some new builds with him. Thanks, operator. Please don't do that again. Alright, hello and welcome to another Warframe builds video. So, we have not done a refresh on Rhino in a little while, and I've been using some new stuff with him. So let's talk about Rhino, because he's really strong right now due to the changes recently to Fissures, making it so that there are a shit ton of enemies. Because Rhino as a tank becomes much stronger whenever he has way more enemies to fight. And sort of in the old way that it was for a long time, we didn't really have a ton of enemies. Like, we weren't really being swarmed, so this build on Rhino was quite a bit weaker. Now, however, it is quite a bit stronger. So, let's talk about it, because this is the Ironclad Iron Shrapnel build. This uses 2 of his augments. These augments are really great and work really well together. And you can get some insane values on Iron Skin. So, disclaimer on this build though. This build really wants Zeneric. If you don't have like 1 or 2 levels in that energy regeneration, this build really wants Zeneric. I would absolutely, like, maybe you should consider if you're not going to use Zeneric with this, maybe you sacrifice some things and go with something like this. It's going to make it your life is going to be a lot easier if you're not using Zeneric to do something like this, because this costs a lot of energy. This is a very energy hungry build. That being said, this is what I use because the extra power duration is very valuable to me, and you can get a lot of extra damage with your roar. So let's just kind of go over what the main stuff is here. So at base, these are your stats. Pretty good overall, and 7100 fucking ferrite armor, that ain't bad. Iron Skin at fucking 7100, pretty strong, higher EHP than a lot of Warframes have. But this is not your intended final Iron Skin value, because Ironclad Charge and Iron Shrapnel are here. Iron Shrapnel allows you to detonate your Iron Skin, which is middlingly useful in terms of its damage output, and can occasionally be absurd damage output, to be fair. But what this allows you to do is refresh your Iron Skin, which is invaluable. This eliminates the situation where you are a Rhino at like 1% Iron Skin, and then you just die to some random enemy because they did the 1% and then your tiny amount of health that's under that, because you weren't able to refresh it. So this completely alleviates that problem from Rhino. An Ironclad Charge gives you 50% extra armor per hit for 10 seconds. So this is affected by mods. It's affected by strength, and it's affected by duration. So it's pretty good. If you hit 4 enemies with this, it pretty much... How much is that a multiplier of? It adds a shit ton. It's like a 4x multiplier if you hit 4 enemies on your Iron Skin. Not on your armor, on your Iron Skin. To show that, we're going to hit 4 enemies. Here we go. Detonate my Iron Skin, infinitely useful. So, if you were to only hit 4 enemies, which in a horde is not that unlikely, you'll see that you now have 28,000 Iron Skin, which is a lot. That's about 10,000 more effective health than Inaros has, and is tougher than a lot of Chroma builds. And you don't have a duration on this, and you can refresh it. And that's only with 4 enemies. I would say 4 enemies is about what you're looking to start off with, but in the current like large hordes, you can get upwards of like 10 enemies occasionally. And all of this kind of just depends on what you're going for. Yeah, these enemies, obviously, these guys do pretty significant damage. Level 80 butchers, you don't want to be hit by these guys. But it takes them quite a bit of time to get through this iron skin, because it's significant EHP. It is significant EHP, and beyond that, you can detonate it, and does a lot of damage to these guys. Even at that low value I'd let it get to. If I had been a couple % higher, they would all be dead right now. So yeah, that's kind of the crux of this build, is that you just want to get really, really tough iron skin. Although there are some modifiers on this that change things up a little bit. So you'll see you're at 91% range. One of the things that I do. So okay, here I'll show an important stat here. So you want to be able to use all your abilities usually, which is nice. An ability radius here, this is the like circular range in front of you whenever you charge, how many meters around you you're hitting. That's affected by range. And down here, obviously, Rhino Stomp is affected by range. So this is 22 meters, which even at 91%, this is pretty respectable. 91% range, 22 meters. Totally usable. However, if you'd like to sacrifice a little bit of strength because you don't feel like you're gonna need it, because in a lot of situations, yeah, you actually don't really need like that much effective health. Then you can, whoops. This. 2 changes. You can switch to this. So with this has less powerful iron skin, obviously, but you get 34 meters of range. And 34 meters it's a pretty big increase. 12 extra meters for like a dock in how strong your iron skin is. Pretty huge. But to show like the exact kind of disparity here for the 4 enemies, let's just do that. Also, you'll see you go down from 7,000 down to about 5,000 for your base armor skin, which is significant. It's also easier to Rhino charge enemies though, which is another consideration. Those guys were very easy to hit. So, hit them. 18,000. So, it's a disparity of 10,000, which is significant. Very significant, of course. That's like an extra Inaros worth of EHP. So, just some options. Having a really large Rhino Stomp is super valuable, because a 12-second stun and 34 meters, that's pretty good. And of course, your damage multiplier goes down a little bit on your Roar, which is neither here nor there, I'd say. Roar is something that's kind of like a bonus that you would want to have up. It's not really needed. But let's switch back to the other build, because this is what I've been using. Obviously, if you wanted to use Prime Flow, you'd have to form this some more. Or change out your Drift mod, but I wouldn't do that. Power Drift is really, really nice here. Alright. So, let's murder the shit out of this group of enemies. Yeah, this build is really, really strong, and we still have 2 more builds to talk about, because Rhino is actually pretty versatile. He has 3 builds that I pretty frequently use, like all 3 of them. Especially recently, like with the meta shift, of course. He's my preferred tank right now. Yeah, obviously you can do this. Nope. Only hit 1, unfortunately. But I can refresh this. There we go, 538%. There you go, guys. Take that. Okay. Now I can just kind of do whatever I want. Yeah, with this, I have plenty of energy to take these guys out. Also, I didn't roar. Should have done that. There we go. There we go. Yep, that's everybody. But yeah, this build, obviously, as I said before, this is much better in hordes of enemies. So having a limit cap of 20 here, this is kind of the base of what this build does. It's much more effective in large groups, which is why I pair it with the Atarax. in most cases. But let's show these other builds because they're very useful. So for this one, this is a low-level farming build. That's just what it is. And you might be wondering, hey, why aren't you using the max blind rage? What's going on with that? Why is there no max blind rage? Why would you? Why? So I find that it is actually more beneficial to have max efficiency, with the exception of you having an EV Trinity, in which case go fucking ham, to just run this blind rage and keep my max efficiency. 152% power strength is plenty for most low-level farms. This was an aside for a while to a Draco. This was like a Draco stomp, but you can still use it in low-level farms or just to clear trash mobs. Because I believe this still kills the trash mobs even in the level 80 test? I actually don't remember, so let's find out. Does this kill you, level trash mobs? No, it doesn't. Okay, no. It must have been, no. Is it the level 50 test? It might be level 50 test. I feel like there was one I was doing. It might have been the normal enemies test I did earlier. Probably the normal enemies test I did. Anyway. But yeah, this is for low-level farms. 50 and 80, yeah. Mostly for like low-level star chart, like let's say Venus. Killing everyone there. Huge radius, of course. Because with this you have 62 meters of range, which is pretty good. And then our final build, which this is like the high-level variant of this build, because in this one you're just doing strength to kill a bunch of enemies and you're just going to stomp a bunch. But with this one, you're going to stomp a bunch, but also there's some survivability built in, and this is about stunning as opposed to just straight up killing, because obviously stomp doesn't really scale very well if you're only using strength. So with this, you use Iron Shrapnel because being able to refresh your Iron Skin is very, very valuable, and utilizing the 3-second invulnerability is very, very important for survivability. I have Firewalker in here for going fast right now. This can be swapped out with kind of whatever you want. Like pretty much literally whatever you want. I just like to go fast whenever I'm using this build usually, because I'm normally using it to stun large groups and then just fucking walk past them. So that's what's happening here. Otherwise, this is just like super large range, fucking stun everyone forever. Not really forever, because they get out of it for about 1 second, but whatever. Yeah, 9-second stun in a 62-meter range. Pretty significant, if I do say so myself. But yeah, this one is this one's very powerful. Let's just show this. Jump these guys back up to 80, even though it doesn't really matter. You'll die from that. There we go. Ran out of energy. Didn't fill up before I walked over here. Oh well. Picked up an orb. Oop. Thought I picked up both of these, but I did not. Obviously, this can be used with Zeneric as well. Yeah, that's that build. Really good in groups. Large area stunning. Very useful in groups. Especially groups that are having a hard time staying alive. But yeah, obviously, Zeneric. Very useful. It did the bug where it didn't actually go off. So that's... Come on. Come on, give me a little something. Alright, whatever. Anyway, that's Rhino. Those are the builds that I use for him. he's really powerful. Obviously, some of these builds are very expensive, and Rhino can run on pretty much no mods in the star chart at large. So those are just some advanced builds for you, and I'll see you tomorrow.